All right, good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon, debate teams. Mr. Hamza, where's he? On. All right. Today is the Grade 10 semifinals in debate 2016. And today's debate topic is, should parents allow their kids to be completely independent by the age of 18? On my right side, there's 10 orange that argues against that claim. On my left side, there's 10 silver that argues with that claim. Now, before we start today's moots and the opening statements, 10 silver has a disclaimer. Okay, go ahead, please, 10 silver.
I would like to say a disclaimer. Before we start this debate, we would like to state that we do not deny that financial help is a necessity. Our debate is based upon minimizing help and maximizing self-work. A man cannot walk without a backbone, and for sure, financial aid, parent help, or anonymous help is something that is vital, but becomes rather spoiling after a certain extent. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot. Shall we start with the affirmative, the opening statement, please? Go ahead.
Thank you. Adulthood. It's a word worth more than 9 letters, is the turning point of a person. The point of where the blizzard of responsibilities and the hardships of life hit you like a bullet train, only to pick you up and hit you over and over and over again. The moment we turn 18, we are officially adults. The majority of the country set the age of priority at 18. The age of priority is the chronological moment minors cease to be legally considered children and assume control over their persons, actions, and decisions, thereby terminating the legal control and legal responsibilities of their parents or guardians over and for them. And it would be unethical to go against the majority of the countries. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Philip, for the opening statement. 10 orange, please. Opening statement, please.
Greetings, my high jury, my dear opposition, and my sincere audience. Today I'm speaking on behalf of 10 Orange's debate team. One of the most inspiring citations that I know is, "A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." That has got to be one of the best known getting started quotations ever. However long and complicated any endeavor might be, it always needs to be initiated with something short and simple. It could be also interpreted to show that no journey ever gets completed that isn't started. There is just so many useful ways that you can try to interpret these few words. Once you get started, you only have to do one step at a time. Getting started is by far the hardest step. Many things in life are also faced than suddenly stuffed in your face. For example, we all stayed 9 months inside our mother's wombs. Even during the terminal part of the wonderful natural process we call the introduction of a new life, it usually takes an hour of suffering. If you look at the world that's around us, you will see how everything is brought on bit by bit. Fall is sandwiched between summer and winter. Spring fills the gap between winter and summer. Also, it has been divinely shown that rushing things is not preferable at all, unless when faced with dire situations. Our beautiful religion, Islam, for example, came down in 3 separate steps: the acceptance of one and only God, the leaving of committing sinful acts, and last but not least, the rest particulars that flow as fluidly as a river once you have submitted yourself to God's way. Another one of these things is responsibility, which honors its beholder with the highest of ranks and majesty. As everything wrong with this generation, young adults believe that holding the responsibility of living alone at an early age, to be more precise, moving out of your parents' house at the age of 18, makes one an independent, successful renegade. But at least nowadays, no such arguments apply. Holding responsibility in a well manner isn't just about that, is about helping your parents when you are grown, keeping the well-defined structure of your society as a unit, and even proudly possessing and passing down your cultural and religious morals. Moving out of your parents' house at the age of 18 is an unnecessary, unwise step to do, because teenagers at that time are not mature enough, can't efficiently provide their own life expenses, need their parents' protection, warmth, and irreplaceable wisdom more than ever, and may violate some of our morals. as Arabs and or Muslims.
All right, thanks a lot for the opening statement, 10 Orange. Let's move back to 10 Silver, please, with round 2, your main arguments.
According to the National Longitudinal Survey of Youth, it states that at the age of 18, 40% would leave home and to live on their own. And from the 40%, only 8% would come back, which is equivalent to 20%. But as they get older and the age that we say that all the students should leave home, which is 21, 70% would leave, but 30 would come back, which is 42%. Dr. Julie Carberry, an adolescent and child psychotherapist who has seen heard it all 12 years of family practice, what's going on is freedom. Freedom is the cocaine a teenager is intoxicating, it's addictive, and it's often their biggest motivator. They will do anything to get it, and they are terrified of losing it. This craving was demonstrated in our national survey, in which nearly 3 out of 4 kids, they were strongly motivated to pursue freedom, and only a tiny fraction would not. People who use drugs or alcohol are seeking temporary, exhilarating high, often described as the feeling of able to do things they normally couldn't. Our kids are getting the same rush, but in a good way. They're experiencing the thrill of freedom, of being liberated to do things on their own, often for the first time.
Out of the ocean of reasons, you should live on your own. These reasons stand out like a sore thumb. They show us why independency is a reliable source for our pursuit of happiness in life. First one, confidence. Independent people naturally tend to be a little more confident on handling issues affecting their lives. This is mainly because they are more prepared to take actions and do things without having to wait for support or permission from someone else. Being independent, therefore, means that you will be more likely to try out new things that you want, rather than what or how you are expected to. This also means that you will have more experience than a less independent individual. This will in time build up more confidence in you with the knowledge that you can do things on your own. For entrepreneur, this confidence opens your mind to taking bigger risks and unbeaten paths that eventually return bigger rewards. Secondly, dependency and self-working. Less independent individuals tend to rely so much on others. This may be because they do not want to have to make choices for themselves, or they feel too shy to go through challenges in their life without somebody by their side. This character makes you appear over nearly being a little more independent will be much appreciated by people, and they will be willing to come to you for help. Being needed or relied upon is what many crave for. This will add some value on you and make you feel important.
Third thing, when it comes to personal independence, there is no satisfaction comparable to the ability to pay your bills. Being able to pay your way through life reduces dependence on your parents, friends, spouse, or whichever person you use to lean on. Financial independence means that you control your own income and expenditure, and you are not answerable to anybody. The the more that you learn to become financially independent, the less stress you may have in your life, as you are more in control of your financial outcome. Be your own hero. Number 4, for self-value and self-esteem. Independence can help increase your self-value and self-esteem. More so if becoming independent is one of your goals, the achievement of financial, emotional, social, career, and personal independence gives you a sense of accomplishment that eventually changes how you rate yourself and how others view you. The increased self-worth that comes with this independence is a great booster to your self-esteem and personal success. Instead of pulling people down, you help them up. If you are capable of meeting your own needs, with the help of technology, you don't have to depend on others for help. Instead of being a burden, you lighten the load of others. So it is not bad to need help. Everyone needs it at some point. But with independence comes the ability to care for yourself and help other people with the knowledge and the abilities you have. People learn to trust you as a beneficial resource and look to you for assistance.
As you know, the age of 18 is the age where you go to college, and 90% of the college experience is moving out of your parents' house and into the dorms. Dorms play a crucial role in the student's experience and has many benefits for students. The distance, for example, the first example is distance. Living in the dorms or residence of any campus, you have an advantage of being on time for anything in the college, from lessons to extracurricular activities and meal times. The second example is finding a study partner is pretty easy. You're in a building where you have other students, your very own course mates included. So not only do you just have potential friends, you have study partners quite easily, which is really helpful. Two are better than one. Learning together is very essential, and the issue of struggling with homework or a concept you found hard to understand in class will not be a problem. There will always be someone to help you. Finally, the most important reason is responsibility, a sense of responsibility and independence. Another benefit of living in the college dorms is you get to be more independent and responsible. Living in the dorms means your own room, your own desk, your own toilet, your own bed. You're basically staying there alone with no family, even though you do have friends next door. Most people see this as a disadvantage. I see it as an immense opportunity to boost confidence as you learn to live and survive on your own and gain basic survival instincts, which may come in handy later in life. Thank you. These were our claims. Your turn.
All right, thank you. Thanks a lot for the positive team. Negative team, please, your main arguments.
Okay, thank you. Before we start, dear educators, I would like to apologize for my missing colleague, and I'll be taking over his work as it should not go into vain. Now, before any discussion, we have to first agree on the definition of moving out of your parents' house. Under standard social conventions, moving out when a teenager, in this case an 18-year-old, decides to live independently from his parents by paying his own rent, college tuition, and other life expenses. Now, first, let's talk about maturity. During the teen years, the influence of massive new hormonal messages, as well as the current needs and experiences, the teenager's brain is being reshaped and reconstructed. Information highways are being speeded up, and some old routes closed down, some are rerouted and reconnected to other destinations. And above all, old information highways are making lots of new connections to other highways and other cities and towns. It's a massive construction project, unlike anything that occurs at any other time in life. In such a situation, things rarely flow smoothly and surprise destinations thrive. The reconstruction explains why the personality and stability that was evident just a year or two before the adolescence recedes, and suddenly new perspectives and reactions abound. One part of the teen brain that is undeveloped and until the mid-20s lies in the second scoop of the ice cream cone. This is called the prefrontal cortex, or PFC. This part of the brain, when fully developed, is in a constant dialogue and with emotional brain, the limbic brain. In the adult, the PFC and the limbic brain are in balance, each one inhibiting the other. So when an adult has an emotional reaction to being cut off by a speeding car, the PFC part of the brain says, hey, stop, think about your desire to go speeding after that car. You might get a ticket, you might cause an accident, and your insurance rates will go up and very high. For that teen, however, the PFC undeveloped and the emotional brain rules the moment until the PFC is undeveloped in the mid-20s. The teen thinks, this is going to be exciting, if he thinks at all. Auto insurance companies figured this one out long ago. So now, according to these psychological studies, 18-year-olds, or most of them, are driven by the instantaneous emotions. Thus, are not mature enough to live on their own. They might put themselves in many dangers that can be simply avoided by the most appreciated guide of their parents. In fact, according to the Florida Department
of corrections, the largest age group that was admitted into prisons was age 18 and 20, which was about 32.3%, which is a really huge number. One of the things that the young adults are infamous for is dropping out of college, which you're all aware of. While finances offer are cited the number one reason students don't attend college, a more pervasive problem is college dropout rates. Financial worries are still a primary reason students um, drop out after a year or two of higher education, but there are many other causes and cases that are easier to address. Improving dropout rates will have a cyclical effect, helping promote a stronger future for the students that obtain degrees and improved opportunities for them and their future children as well. According to the New York Times, a mere 53% of students that enroll in college finish on into their second year, while more students are dropping out in their final years of college as well. In 2011, 78% of college attendees failed to get a diploma after 6 years of studying. That's a very long time, which they could get their degree very easily. The following are primary reasons for college dropouts. Isolation. Part of the college's social experience students gain to bring them into adulthood. However, many students are faced with a sudden sense of isolation when they transition from high school to college. With no friends and none of their social relationships they have spent the last 15 or 16 years of their lives building, this sense of isolation can become very overwhelming and may fall them into depression. This sense of isolation can become overwhelming for students that aren't enough taught the self-confidence needed to enter brand new social experiences and situations. But if they are close to their parents, relationship-wise, that beautiful parent-child friendship would grow more sincere and close. The second point is lack of guidance. Many of today's graduating high school students feel they have had very little guidance moving forward. And college is owned by self-starting students who are able to make decisions on their own. As such, it is important to help students develop a sense of ownership in their actions and decisions that will help them overcome any lack of guidance they might have received in order to become smarter. More lasting decisions on their own. This drive will also address worries about making the wrong choices can hold students back from success. Last but not least, and lack of responsibility. Of course, having a sense of responsibility for their own actions can cause students to drop out as well. Students who party and enjoy their freedom from their families too much will have poor attendance and find an unbalanced work or social life. That will result in poor grades and even poorer self-esteem in terms of academics. Now, let's move on to our morals as Arabs and Muslims. Culture is, in the words of E.B. Tyler, that complex whole which includes knowledge, belief, art, morals, law, custom, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by a man as a member of society. Our morals as Arab or Muslims obligate us to have a strong parent-child relation, or salat al-rahim, as many of you may know, in which the parent helps the child with experience and wisdom, and the child helps the parent with strength and capabilities. One good thing about our conservative Muslim society is that we are primarily concerned about our family relationship and ties. Unlike most modern Western societies and cultures, we have a true family bonds in which no matter how old you are and how many children you have, you still have to be obedient to your parents. For instance, what most Westerns do when their parents become old and need for their help, they simply throw them away in an elderly home. Whereas in our Muslim society, putting your old father or mother in an elderly house is considered as an unwritten sin. During adolescence, as well as we all do, we despise our parents for some of their actions, whether it is overprotection, over dependence, or a tiny pun your dad makes at lunch. You might react with, "Dad, stop, it's embarrassing." But then as you sail through your 20s, you would look at all your parents' actions from a different perspective. But if you moved out from your parents' house while you still despise your parent and think that they're annoying with rules, that would be the last thing in your brain what your parents do. Do you think that's the right thing to do?
Now, let's talk about life expenses. However, as appealing as this may sound, the freedom of living on your own comes with great responsibility, financial and otherwise. Before you take this bold step, you have to make sure that you're fully prepared for what lies ahead. Living on your own involves more than paying a rent or a mortgage each month. Water, electricity, gas, cable, phone services are just a handful of expenses you may not immediately think of when complementing this big move. In addition, you need to consider the renter's insurance, security deposits, and other personal expenses such as auto loans and student loans. If you're not accustomed to paying your own way, you might find yourself biting off more than you can chew. And taking in consideration that most probably you want to attend college, it would be extremely hard to manage between your studies and sources of money. Part-time jobs, for instance. Take the American case, for example. In America, 54% of students, of college students, needed to work to support themselves or families and could not balance work and class. 31% could not afford college, so they dropped out. 60% of community college students work 20 hours per week, and 62% of college students who drop out are responsible for paying their own education. College costs have risen 400% during the last 20 years. 30% of students who drop out must still repay their student loans. And 60% of community college students are enrolled in part-time jobs, limiting their financial aid benefits, including access to healthcare. Moving out would be much easier and convenient if you had a college degree and a well-paying job. Okay. Those are all our claims. Thank you for listening.
All right, thanks a lot, 10 Orange. Let's move on back to 10 Silver. Do you have any rebuttal for the arguments? And then you can follow up with new arguments.
We would like to ask a question, if we may. May we ask a question? First, may I just, if you can skip back to the 2011 incident you told us, can you just give us why did they drop out?
Are you, is there a question like, then they can refute in their round. Once they're done with your rebuttal and your arguments, they can refute back.
Okay, but we just want to ask a question, then give our...
Yeah, the statistic we got, it says in 2011, 78% of college attendees failed to get a diploma after 6 years of higher education. It shows that in that particular year, in 2011, 78% of the people who attended college didn't get a diploma after attending college for 6 years. And as we supported later, it has many various reasons. As we said.
Thank you. First, we would like to remind you that we gave you a small disclaimer before starting, and we said that we didn't say that we didn't want any financial aid before leaving home. Before leaving home, you need some financial aid, whether you have a rich family, a poor family, or you're a hard worker. Whatever happens, you need some financial aid from the government, an honest person, charity, or your parents themselves. Second thing is that you stated that there is little guidance until the age of 18. And students find themselves lost in the real world, in reality, we can call it. That's the mistake of the parents, and they did not give enough guidance for their children to go out in the real world. And another thing you said was Islam. Islam is something we all abide to. It's our religion. But you stated that Muslims should obey parents and family members at any age. Our topic states that 18-year-olds should become independent. And when you become independent, that does not automatically put you in a place where you're disobedient to your parents. Thank you.
For the disclaimer part, you said that you need some financial aid.
Can I ask you to delay that for your turn? Once they're done with the rebuttals, you can just reply to the rebuttals.
Sorry.
Okay? Continue, please.
In your opening statement, you stated that 18-year-olds are not mature yet. We completely disagree. As we said, the age of majority in most countries is 18. Why? Of course, it is not random. 18 is the age where you are no longer a child, and that is well demonstrated by it being the age where you can move from school to college and start voting and have many other rights and benefits. For example, at the age of 18, if you are convicted for a crime, you no longer get to be judged in a juvenile, but in a criminal court.
And another thing we'd like to add is for the misleading cause is the main causes of teenage pregnancy, drug abuse, and peer pressure. And it's because of the absent parents in early life and lack of knowledge. Still, we're emphasizing that it's the parents' fault, not the students. The students are just like a Play-Doh. You mold it to whatever you want to mold it. And the effects of parents failing to construct the foundation in which the 18-year-old will carry with him for the rest of his or her life. We're done.
Anything, any more arguments?
No, we're
Okay,
done.
thank you. Do you have any cross-examination questions? Questions you want to address the other team before we wrap up?
For the meantime, no.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on back to 10 Orange. Any arguments and any additional rebuttals?
Yeah, I just want to reply on their questions. Yes. As you said, as you mentioned in your disclaimer, that financial aid is needed. Do you think that when you need financial aid, doesn't that mean that you ready to move? Why don't you move when you are completely ready? When you have a job, when you secured a college degree and you got the first step secured. And about being 18, you're not mature enough. You are not mature enough. And as Ghalib said, you are still a mold. You can be easily affected by your outer society. And with the psychological proof we have that the limbic system or the emotional part of the brain is not developed until the mid-20s. So while you're 18, you are still mature enough. You're not mature enough. You claimed that living or attending college while you are living in a dorm is something beneficial, and it comes as a benefit in moving out. But I think there are other. There's something called studying abroad. If you study abroad, you're not completely independent from your parents. Your parents still pay your college tuition, they pay your life expenses. This thing would improve your concentration on college. The main goal of being from the age of 18 till 22 is that you want to get that college degree, not securing your lunch for tomorrow. And about independency, all you're saying that you're mentioning the benefits of independency, but you're not mentioning the suffering of that process. That process, that suffering of independency could be avoided simply by your parents' guidance and your parents' help.
Okay, before I say anything, I would like to remind you of your disclaimer, which said they have to have a financial help from their parents. Now, let's not forget Trump, the guy running for election in America, took a small loan of $1 million. Now, that $1 million can feed a family of hundreds. But some families don't have that financial support, but want their children to go and study abroad. So financial help does not always, it's not always necessary from parents. And the truth is, no matter how old your child is, you have the right to enforce the rules of your house by Megan Devine, LCPC.
And about, you said that moving out doesn't mean you're not obedient to your parents, but at the end of the day, you are far from your parents. At that time, your parents spent 18 years feeding you and teaching you and taking care of you. Isn't that time to return those favors back? Why shouldn't you be beside your parents and helping them with your life, giving them your capabilities that they don't have anymore? And then comes experience, but we should know that not all experience is good. A study from the University State of Utah, about 32% of the 1.6 million busts related to drugs in the United States are a result from teens falling into depression and feeling homesick. Homesick not only for the shelter they lived in, but also responsibilities they never cared about and everything managed by their mom and dad.
And I just want to state something, This saying has life in a bucket. It has the whole meaning of life. The essence of humanity is identity and community you find in the family. Without without family, your existence doesn't have any meaning. Thank you.
All right, thank you. 10 Silver, FMS team, you may respond. Yeah, then followed by a closing statement.
What you talked about Donald Trump, I believe. Donald Trump, when he got the small loan of $1 million, he didn't go to college with it. He didn't live his life with it. He started a business with it. What we're talking about here is living alone and going to college on the expenses of the government, small loans, your parents, plus you working with it. It doesn't matter if you're gonna work 20 hours a week, 3 hours a week, or not working at all. Living independently teaches you how to become independent. And
By 18, you are mature enough to vote and perform many other actions as to the leading countries in the world. It is absurd to go against the majority of the leading countries in the world. Parents raise you up to become independent and responsible, and they take pride when seeing you go out into the world and succeed, because it is at that point that they realize that they have succeeded as parents. This is our ending statement. You cannot escape the responsibilities of tomorrow by evading them today. Abraham Lincoln. With every day comes more responsibility. For the first chapter of your life, most of that responsibility can be thrown on parents. But the age of 18 is the threshold that wakes you up. By the age of 18, you have already overwhelmed your share of thrown responsibilities. It is time. It is time to take responsibility. With responsibility comes independence, the major factor on which our world is based upon. The feeling of independence is what wakes you up and assists you in facing tribulations and challenges of life with the superior forces. It's what makes you feel relevant in this day and age and helps you pursue your goals in life. At the end, don't be dependent on others to meet your needs. They will let you down every time. And that's because meeting your needs is not their job, it's yours. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot for the closing statement. Let's move on to the negative team. Please, the closing statement.
Can I answer some of the
Sure,
claims?
you're allowed to do that.
You said that at the age of 18 you can vote and do other things, but do you think that shows that you're mature enough to vote? And do you think those and their restrictions would work on our culture? Don't forget that we are Muslims and Arabs, and we have our own culture and we have our own identity. They believe in many things. They believe in gay marriage. They believe in living with a partner without marriage. They believe in many things. But those things, do they apply on our culture and our society? And also, in those developed countries you're talking about, you're not allowed to gamble or drink until you're 21. Say my closing statement. To be or not to be? That is the question. That's from Hamlet's, maybe Shakespeare's most famous soliloquy. Many people use that as a mold for their questions. To die or not to die, to eat or not to eat, to debate or not to debate. So now the question should be, to move out or not to move out at the age of 18. As we previously mentioned, moving out at the age of 18 is even more treacherous and unnecessary than you think, because teenagers at that time need their parents more than ever in finances, safety, and warmth, and they also need them in counseling issues. And the list continues until the ironic edge of the universe. But actually thinking about this controversy made me question the validity of this phrase. What if Shakespeare or Hamlet was wrong? What if the apt question at this case is, why should it be? Why should I take that treacherous big jump and risk my future? Why shouldn't I take this? Why shouldn't I take this big change in my life and turn into a flawless step-by-step process? Why should I weaken or even break that unique bond in my family? A Tribute to Family, a poem by Michel Moran, answers to an extent those puzzling queries. I don't know when it started or how it all began, but God created families as only our Lord can. He was teaching what it means to love, honor, and obey. He wanted a strong bond that wouldn't see too much today. He wanted someone to hold us and show respect for others. He wanted someone who would be gentle, and so he created mothers. A support filled with love, and so he created fathers. Sent from heaven up above, brothers and sisters came next. Someone to look up to, someone who to depend. When he put them all together, he was amazed at what he'd done.
All right, thanks a lot for both teams. Allow us 2 minutes to calculate the scores, please. All right. Both of the teams had very compelling arguments, seriously. And you had great claims, very powerful evidence from the neuroscience, from cultural, from sociological, and even economical perspectives. One of you scored 52, and the other scored 57. 42. 42, and the other 57. Orange, he scored 57, and the other team has scored 42. Excellent, great 10 Orange. We go into the finals.